Yeah, I think, number one, the big thing we took away is fundamentals, the little things. On offense, hand placement, leverage. On defense, angles. That was the biggest thing we took away, and those will prevent the explosive plays when you're better at tackling on defense, and the little things on offense up front. There was a lot of good, and then there's plays you look at, you're like, man, that could have been it. But you can't live in those worlds. You got to live in what we did. So we just got to get better on the little things. That's what we really worked on last week and going into this week.
And I asked Don about this, but it looked like there was some slippage with the cleats. Do you guys bring just separate sets of cleats and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're always ready for it. I mean, that's something that, it came up in the game, and we got to do a better job just with our footing and all those things to help the guys.
Dennis?
You said a little bit about what you worked on in the bye week. Do you feel like you improved, and can you talk about some of those little things that you guys worked on?
Yeah, I think fundamentals, technique, the little things make the big things, and it's not the scheme part of it. We got to adjust and do different things, but really it's about the little details. And when you make those little details work, it's going to make you a better player. It's going to make you a better team. So that's what we worked on throughout the whole week, and even yesterday when we had a practice. So it was a good day yesterday, and we continue to have a good week last week.
On the left, Isaiah?
Jair seemed like he maybe took a step back a little bit this last week after having stacked a couple really good games. What did you see from him against Washington, and how do you kind of get him back to where he was against USC and Minnesota?
Yeah, he just gotta play confident. He's got to play with great technique, play with great eyes, and do little things that the coaches are asking him, and just have confidence in himself that he can do it because he's done it on great stages before against really good players. So just continue to do that and do it in practice and carry it to games.
On the right here, Charlie?
Sherrone, the guy that said that Jack's been a leader for a long time now, but have you seen him kind of step it up in these past week and a half?
Yeah, I mean, he's been who he's been. Obviously he hadn't practiced for a whole length of time, then got to practice and played in the game. So, being they call him Uncle Jack, the seventh-year guy, that's done it, seen it, been in the big games, been in all the games. So he's done a really good job, and he just continued to progress and do those things right now.
Austin?
Jack mentioned last week you called him after the Washington game just to make sure he wasn't being too hard on himself about the turnovers. Why did you feel like that was the right thing to do, and what was the message there?
I mean, nobody beats themselves up about a loss or anything that happens more than the players do. And it's my job to make sure that they're in a good mental headspace and can continue to push forward. So thought for 3 weeks of practice, played, or 3 days of practice really, went in the game and competed at a high level. And obviously the turnovers are what they are, and we have to eliminate them. But wanted to make sure that he knew we were confident in him and what he could do. And I think pushing forward and how he's prepared these last couple days, last week into yesterday and into today, and he's up there watching film. He's gone in the right direction.
In the middle, Charles?
Yeah, what do you remember from that win over Illinois in 2022, and how can you kind of use that going against them this week?
Yeah, I mean that was a different team. We had a different team. They had a different team. It was a physical battle. It was physical at the line of scrimmage. It was physical in the air. I remember it was super windy. We couldn't throw one direction, so you can only run one direction because the wind was all over the place. And went down to the wire, and I thought our kids fought to the end, offensively, defensively, special teams. Obviously, Jake Moody hitting the kick to win it. It was a tough battle, and we know it's going to be a tough battle down there. And it's a physical team that Coach Bielema does a great job coaching his program from his days at Wisconsin to now. So we're just ready for the challenge.
Angelique?
Sure. For Jack, was it a bit of a crash course last week and getting him up to speed even more?
No, I mean, even though he didn't practice, he's been in meetings, he's been out there, so he's seen it, he's done it. He just hasn't been able to practice and do all the things at full speed, and obviously throwing and the timing and all that. So, from the perspective of knowing and understanding the system, no, but getting getting the things done and timing with the receivers and the tight ends and timing the handoffs and all those things. That's what he had to really progress at, and he did a really good job.
And who's the backup quarterback?
We'll see. Right now, we still have Alex. Alex will be there, and he'll have a role, and we still got Davis. So we'll continue to roll those guys.
In the front here, Tony?
Yeah. Sure, obviously, you don't control when the bye week falls, but seemed to come at a pretty good time. Guys were banged up, awful loss. I guess how was there a moment? I mean, did you guys get out of the facility? Was there extra time in the facility? How did you guys really regroup this week for?
A little bit of both. We last week we came in practice, did what we need to do, but also want to get their guys, the bodies back, rested, get them mentally clear too. That's a big piece of it. So they had Friday and Saturday off just to be to themselves, and whether they went home or most of them were here, and they were, guys were still in the facility doing stuff. So, but it was a good time for everybody to refresh and get their time. And coaches went on the road recruiting, so it was good.
And I guess building on that, these last 3 years, it's so easy to have fun, right? Every step of the way. How are you guys still? I mean, making everybody still doing that.
Gotta have fun. You gotta have fun. You can't dread this. You gotta love this. It's just a blessing to walk in this building. So every day, I just pinch myself and think about the thought process of that. And yeah, the last 3 years, but there's a lot of hard times in those 3 years. It wasn't all peaches and roses. It wasn't all happy times. But the wins showed that made us happy. But there's plenty of times we came in here and said we got to learn from these wins, and we did. So we got to do the same thing with the losses.
On the right, Aaron.
Defensively, you guys are getting thrown at maybe more than maybe one other team in the country. Is that something you expected coming in this year, and how do you scheme against that, or can you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can't really expect anything. You guys just expect everything. You gotta expect that they can run, that they'll try to run, they'll try to throw, they'll do different things to. Guys are getting the ball out fast because they know the pass rush is going to be there. So we just got to do a good job with our schematics and then our fundamentals to make sure we can stop them.
Rod Morris, is there an update on him or where he's at status-wise?
Still progressing. Yeah, can't really speak on the exact timeline of the date, but he's still progressing in a good way.
Are you still hopeful that he might return this year?
Yeah, we'll see.
Reiner.
And you mentioned nowadays along those lines that on the in-house radio program that the pass defense has to get better. Can you pinpoint, some of the reasons why there have been so many issues there? Is it schematics, execution, combination of both? What have you been able to kind of?
Yeah, I think it's really just the little things that we talked about. You got to get better fundamentally. You got to get better at our angles when the ball is caught, and that'll help help all the big things come to fruition.
How about the Wink's decision to send some of the guys out from the secondary on blitzes? And kind of leaving maybe some vacant holes on the back end. Is that something that you guys have kind of?
When you study our film from the past years and this year, people say we'll blitz more or don't blitz more. It's not. That's not the case. We just got to do a really good job with how we scheme, when we scheme, but also executing at a high level. We're all in this together, so there's no pointing fingers.
On the left, Chris.
Coach, it seems like in this era and roster composition, you always got to be thinking ahead. What is Sean McGee's role in that? How has he done? What's he doing?
Yeah, he's done a great job. You're exactly right. This is a different era of football, and you got to have a forward thinking of what you do. And we're compiling names and data, not only of college, but high school, and trying to build it from the high school ranks and make sure we get a core foundation of that. I think we're doing a good job with this recruiting class, and we'll continue to bring in the pieces needed that we need help immediately, to replace and do things and sustain the success that we need to get. So he's done a really good job of just managing the numbers and the roster, and we got the 105 and all those changes coming. So forward thinking and all that, and letting us do the football stuff.
And how much of that is concentrating on your own roster too, and making sure they're taken care of?
Yeah, it's a lot. We got to make sure that our guys are here. That's the number one group we got to recruit, and we got to make sure they're happy mentally, physically, and spiritually. Make sure the guys here are in a good place.
On the left there, Ryan.
Looks like you guys have only had one freshman burn the redshirt so far this year. Would you say that's more of a product of a tougher early season schedule, or maybe a change in philosophy trying to preserve younger players?
Just guys that are ready. So just trying to make sure that the guys that we put in the game that they're ready physically and mentally. When you bring in 5 offensive linemen, it's hard to play all 5 offensive linemen. Bring a couple DBs, sometimes those guys will play. And skill guys who always say it's easier to play farther away from the ball early, so the skill guys will play more than the guys up front. So it's just really a product of the guys that are ready, and we'll see how the rest of these games go and who we need and the guys we need to platoon will go win.
On the right here, Angelique.
Sherrone, Quentin the other day was talking about that this is time for the players for self-evaluation. Is it the same for the coaches too, and what's that process like?
Yeah, I told everybody. Myself, players, coaches, that was the message in the locker room. It's not time to panic, but we have to evaluate what we need to do and how we need to operate. And you saw that last week in practice, how we practiced, what we did in practice, and really into yesterday on how those guys practiced and prepared. They came out with a ton of energy, enthusiasm, but also a lot of detail on the little things, and not so much of this holistic thing, but the little details are the things that help us win, and we got to continue to focus on that.
What about the coaches? Do you feel like, coaches feel like they had to make some changes too?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always self-evaluating. This is a great time when you have a bye week to self-scout, to see what you've done, how's effective, what's worked, what hasn't, and you have the data, you have the film, so we did a lot of that, and I think it's going to help us as we go through.
What was your reaction to the Dave Portnoy thing?
I'm not commenting on that right now.
You need another question, Angela? You got another one? Austin?
Sure, how much time did you spend during the off week looking at the turnovers specifically, and is there anything you can pinpoint about why that's been an issue with different guys at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at everything. The biggest thing in the picks was either route distribution and timing of the throw. Protection was one. What really was that? And so when you get a mistimed route and a mistimed throw, that's what happens. So we got to, we really focused on, again, the little things, the route detail, the precision of the throw, the precision of the route, making sure those things are all time up, and then putting guys in a position to make sure they're successful. So moving guys around in different places, which I think we did a really good job with this past week, and excited to see them as we practice this week go.
All right, Andrew.
As far as your trip to the Pacific time zone and then coming back, I know you didn't have a game to prepare for right away, but did you notice any effects from it?
No, not from going there, because you gain the time there, and we tried to adjust our time when we went there to make it as similar as possible for them being a night game playing here. So everything, we gave them the time to rest, we gave them, and we just kind of went down the schedule like it was. And then coming back, obviously, it's good to have the bye weeks coming back, and I think those are necessary as we go through the schedule and continue to do that. But going there was an effect, but obviously, coming back, we got back at like 5:30 in the morning, so that bye week was much needed.
And then this Illinois team, what have you seen from them?
I mean, Coach Bielema just does an outstanding job building a program, physicality, toughness, detail in what they do offensively. Luke Ottmeyer, the quarterback, he's gotten so much better. He just progressed from last year to this year. You can see him being in the system for another year. And they've got skill guys all over the place with the receivers and the two backs, really good. And then defensively, tough physical front. They've mixed up the coverages in these past games, played a little bit more quarters last game, and that could have been of who they were playing. But they, mainly a one-high team that'll go into some two-high stuff. But physical defense, and we've got to be ready for that challenge.
Got time for a few more. We'll start with Reiner.
Yeah, considering that the offense was always going to be a work in progress, 10 new starters, I mean, how hard has it been to absorb some of the problems and issues that you guys have had on defense?
Well, we got to adjust and keep overcoming. We've done a really good job of staying together, and we're a couple plays here, a couple plays there from those big plays not happening or something not going the right way, and we just continue to work. That's all we're going to do. We can't worry about the past now. We're going to help that lead us to the future, and continue to work and get better.
On the right here, Aaron.
Dom, Miles, and Derek, are they going to be available?
Looks like they're trending all in the right direction, so feel good about them. I think they'll all practice this today, so I feel like we're in a good place with them all.
On the left, Isaiah.
Mark Walker was pretty fired up after he had his big catch against Washington.
Yeah.
What's kind of allowed him to progress to this point, and how much more can we maybe see him going forward?
Yeah, confidence, man. He's such a talented kid, and confidence and acknowledgement of the system, knowing the system, and us just moving him around different places. And yeah, definitely gonna have a role here a little bigger as we grow. And he's started last week and really gotten to this week, and excited to watch him grow this week.
All right. No other questions unless Angelique's got 15. But
She's
Room's gonna be out for a while.
looks like it. So we'll just keep working with the doctors, but it looks like it will be.
Do you think the offensive line, the starting five, will be the same?
We'll see. If Miles is back, then I think Miles will be the starter at left tackle, and then we'll see at right tackle. I thought Kripp did a really good job. I think he did a really good job of controlling line of scrimmage with the calls, especially in that environment. Being pretty calm. But he's been a guy that's traveled to different places, seen it. So it looks like he'll cement himself there and continue to work there. But we'll we'll see what happens with Dom and Percy gave some great experience being an older guy, so that gives us a challenge at the other spots to see what he can do.
So is there competition at right tackle now?
Yeah, there's always competition now. So.
I'm getting the last question.
Yeah.
I'm getting the last question, which
Go ahead, Steve.
you want to talk about Adrian.
Yeah, I really just want to. I texted him. I also just want to say a prayer to him and his family. Horrific injury. I mean, what a great human being. Obviously, an outstanding player, but a great human being, and left a legacy here. And I know he's the heartbeat of that team. So really, just want to say a prayer to him and his family. Tell him that they're in our thoughts. And also Coach Harbaugh. I sent him a text. He's going to the doctor today, so he better go. So hope he's doing well. But just prayers to both of them.